Welcome back, everybody. This is not Bobby Brown, and it is not my prerogative, but we have some super cool new fancy headsets, two fancy headsets. So I'll try not to like burp or regurgitate.
And don't grab it down
Swivel.
here. Don't grab it down here. You got to swivel.
If I had $1 for every time I heard "don't grab it down here,"
Or
all right,
or swivel.
swivel. All right. Sorry I was late.
Yeah, what were you doing?
I was talking to some concerned citizens that had me come address their group about guns and gun laws and
were they concerned about like
how they
not enough laws, too many?
Yeah,
laws?
I think they think there's not enough laws. So
Yeah.
they were older gentlemen, so it was interesting. I think they have a hard time grasping that. I don't, it's back to where you want to blame the gun, that's fine. They said, they talked about how there's way more guns today. Factually, there is way more guns today. But when you're talking to guys that are 60 to 75 years old, my question to them is, you're from a time frame where people put guns in a display case with glass doors. Like every family had a gun
Right.
and all the kids knew. So I wouldn't say accessibility of guns has changed. There might be way more, but yours are in a safe, mine are in a safe.
Yeah, I think the accessibility is lessened.
There's almost like
that's
nobody
the word.
displays their guns at home anymore because you don't want them stolen. So
No.
it's just my general consensus is it's hard to deal with people that old who come from a time frame where they respect life. They can't even imagine, what it's like, the cultural problems we have today.
So do you think? Man, I'm getting on a subject that we were
Here we
gonna
go.
talk
We have
about,
9 things, but
let's
Fine.
go.
Let's do it because I just came from Mr. Bean's and
So
I have
do
9
you really
gallons
think
of.
that people don't respect life as much as they used to?
I don't think they do.
I think they do.
You think they do?
I think there's always been bad people. I think the bad people are getting more publicity now than they used to.
Mm.
I mean, Billy the Kid, come on.
In your day and age, though, when tell me this isn't real life. How old are first?
my day and age.
Yeah.
Get
How old are
off
you?
my porch.
How old are you?
That's kind of personal. But
Come on.
Yeah, 54.
Graduated what year of high school?
1982.
Okay. Did kids get in fights?
Yeah.
Did anybody ever think about showing back up because they got their ass kicked and shooting people?
I don't know. I wasn't in their head. Maybe they did.
Did they do it?
No, they didn't.
No.
Not that. But was
Everybody's
it just not
got a big
was
butt,
it,
Dottie. What's your
yeah.
big butt?
I'm a rebel. I'm a loner.
Yes.
There's a lot of Pee Wee Herman references going on
I
all
like
at
it.
once.
It's funny you say we because we were both peeing before the show started.
Man, we're way off track. I just don't think they're publicized. I think there's school shootings
Oh.
prior to recently.
I was bringing that up to these guys. I said, I don't want to be way off, but I don't think I am. I think if you go back and look, like in the 90 to 94 or something, if you look in there was more officers being killed in the line of duty than there are now. But there's a lot right now, right? 19 already, 20
Yeah,
this year.
too many.
Yes. But we know about everyone. You have, the Officer Down Memorial page. You have it on Fox News, CNN, everything. You can find about an officer killed. It is a big deal. It's a huge deal. But there was just as many back then. You just didn't know about it. I mean, you didn't open up a paper in Cedar Rapids, Iowa and read about an officer
Well,
killed.
everything was so regionalized
Sure.
back then. The news, I mean, even when I was younger, I don't remember seeing a lot of, not that I was paying attention, but, I don't see a lot of national news. Everything was kind of localized,
Mm-hmm.
and I just don't think the lines of communication were as large or.
It just shows up on your phone. Everything's on your phone these
Yeah.
days. Phones. So, yeah, it was interesting.
So you think you changed any minds? Or
No.
No?
No. They want me back next Monday so they can beat up on me again.
No,
So,
but that's changing minds.
But they were, and here's the thing, is they were so some of them, they were just so focused about the NRA this, and all the money they're putting in their pockets. And my general question to them is, what have they accomplished with that money? So first of all, whatever candidate you're talking about, was the NRA even in the top 30 of people that gave them money?
Nothing that I've seen. So like everything I've seen says.
Well, I told him to go.
NRA is pretty low.
And I told him, go research that. Come back to me and show me where the NRA was even in the top 10 or top 30 of somebody's contributions. And then also come and show me what has the NRA accomplished that has you so upset? I mean, and I asked him, I said, what law is it that they got passed? Well, they don't want this background check system. I'm like, do you know the history of the national background check system and the NRA and how intertwined those two things are? And so, again, it's just misinformed people. And here was another. They wanted to talk about the AR-15, of which they called the M13 and the M14 and the AR this. So, and that's cool, right?
Right.
Don't be, what's that word?
Pedantic.
Don't be pedantic. So I'm not going
Look
to
it up, folks.
Yeah. Well, what about all the clips? And I'm not going to say it's a damn magazine. So I understand what they're getting at. But what was interesting is, again, here's my take on it. When they're like, well, what about the guns he's using? They said it made bullet holes the size of your hand in them. And I said, there's no way to say, oh, well, he was using cheap Federal 5.56, right, or 223 full metal jacket. You as a soldier, let me ask you, and that's what I brought up to him. I said, how many of you were in the military, and how many of your dads were in the military, and do you have any grandsons in the military? I said, so no disrespect to anything they had done. I said, go talk to the last current 15 years worth of combat veterans and ask them how super effective the full metal jacket 5.56 is. Now, does that have anything to do with the Parkland shooting? I told him, I said, when you can shoot kids inside a cement kill box and make them wait a long time for medical attention, people are going to die.
Right, like 12 minutes.
But if you think this is a magical gun that hurts people worse than other guns, when they all said, well, we grew up, hunting with a pump shotgun.
I love that. That's my favorite. I grew up around guns, but
yeah,
that's my favorite.
But I told him, I said, do you know what a 12 gauge and double-aught buck would be like also? But it doesn't matter. None of it. That's the part where I kept saying, you guys keep wanting to focus on this tool he used at the end result. And they were very big on, we need all these background checks. I said, have you been following the news to see that, and I'm not playing armchair quarterback. We're just going to go by what? 20 to 30 reports of the sheriff's department going to that kid's house, right?
Right.
One of them involved him pointing a gun at his mother. That should have been called what? A domestic.
Right. Involving
a weapon. Boom. He would no longer be able to own guns. He wouldn't have passed the background check that he did in November or December. So, I went back to him and I said, you, like a lot of people, keep looking to the government for the answer. Texas church shooter, right?
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. Never got put in the system.
That's the Air Force, Yep. This kid in Parkland, FBI was looking into him as early as January, or as recently as January, and closed the case. So, I don't know. I just told the one guy, my generic question, and people can call me simple-minded, and they do, is I said, if you have a guy with a suicide vest on walking at you and your friends, and you can't escape, he's just walking right at you, what words on pieces of paper do you think are going to stop him? I mean, and you have to deal with that kind of mentality. And he didn't have an answer. And it's not being a smartass. He wanted to talk about bump stocks. Oh my God, what are we going to do about bump stocks? And I said, hey, I'll talk out of both sides of my mouth. Do I need one? No. Do I think they should be outlawed? No. And if you're focusing on the fact that the government says, I said, there's your beloved NRA. They came out and said, hey, you need to revisit this because we think it should be regulated. Does it change the rate of fire of a gun? If I pull the trigger on a gun with a bump stock and hold the trigger to the rear, it fires one round. There you go. It didn't change the function of the gun. But that's a little bit hard for them to grasp.
Right, because they don't understand the functionality.
Especially when I told them, they're like, well, what's it doing? I said, you give me your semi-automatic, Browning A5 you said you grew up with, and I'll show you how to bump fire your A5 with no bump stock on it. Did you ever think about killing your schoolmates? No. It's just, again, different mindset. But, we went around and around about how, I said, the Las Vegas shooter, are you familiar with it? Oh, yes. That all happened because of bump stocks, this and that. I'm like, do you realize the guy had been researching places for 2 years? What was it? He looked over Lollapalooza in Chicago, rented a room there, looked over that park.
Yep.
I'm like, it's a methodical killer guy. And I said, there's your guy with a suicide vest. What law is on the books? We're going to stop a person who's willing to go that distance to hurt people. And the other thing is, he said, well, how he only hurt that many people because he had a bump stock. I'm like, no, he hurt that many people because he's in an elevated position over 22,000 people.
And they didn't know where he was at.
Yeah. And I told him, I said, can you imagine loading up Kinnick Stadium with people down on the football field, shoulder to shoulder? Are you a sniper because you can hit 200 of them? No.
That's what they used to call, or not used to, they call it plunging fire, where you just fire from an elevated position and let the bullets drop.
Not a good place to be down there, is it?
No.
So, but again, I kept going back to him. I said, when they said, well, what's your answer? What's your solution? I said, I don't have one. That's what scares people is, how are you going to go backwards, go back in time, go into that kid's house, make sure he has good parents, make sure he's held accountable, make sure that, when he doesn't get a participation trophy, he doesn't get mad at the world and think that it's Billy's fault and want to go to school with a gun. So it's a parenting issue.
It's a parenting issue.
Yeah. It's a discipline from the beginning of life issue. We're way off arming teachers. We're supposed to be talking about arming teachers.
It's not No, we're working on that way. We don't.
Okay.
We
All
have
right.
no agenda here. This is
Oh.
free flowing.
Free flow. There was a lot of things free flowing earlier.
Yeah. So you don't think it's a media, it's a violent video game? Like some people are say that it's because we have too many video games. Or
Oh,
it's,
you look
or
at
it's
my
that goddamn rock music.
yeah. So my dad broke all my Ted Nugent records. There's I wish my dad
I'm really
was,
disappointed. In
I
Ted.
wish my
I
dad-
used to love that guy, and now he's a character.
wish my dad was alive to make him come on the show and say, "Can you tell me again why you broke my Ted Nugent records?" And then later in life, you said, "Look at this guy who's super pro gun. He's awesome." I'm like,
That's Ted Nugent.
"That's Ted Nugent. He had long hair."
Yeah.
Yeah. See, we're way off base.
So, what do you think about Army teachers then? So anyway,
Here we go.
Here we
Well,
go.
the real show starts now.
this real show.
Yep.
What do you think about
prerogative? So, I got to go get some of those little ploofy silk pants on.
those parachute pants?
No, parachute pants were tight. His were like super like.
Parachute pants were tight.
Yeah.
No, they weren't.
Okay.
No, parachute pants. Z Cavaricci's.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
Cavaricci's.
Oh, boy.
Z Cavaricci's. baby.
Yeah.
Which show's going downhill now.
That's like the MC Hammer pants.
Yeah.
Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, like-
Yeah.
All right. Army teachers, what do you think?
I don't know.
You don't know? You got no opinion?
My opinion is if you had, there would have to be certain parameters. Obviously, you know, it's funny. Let's talk about how controversial this is. What do you call the gun world? What is it? Why is it so what?
I said pedantic.
Pedantic. God, I gotta learn these big words. One thing that is funny though is I like it. We'll talk about Rob. People don't like. People love to hate Rob Pincus, don't they? Whatever.
I don't think half the people that listen to the show even know who he is.
Yeah. So what
Look
I
him
thought,
up.
I think what's funny is when Rob called out the so-called gun world and said, "Wait a minute, you believe in arming teachers if they have mandatory training?"
Yeah,
Wouldn't that just be the fact that they're at their job, and so if they have a carry permit, they should be able to carry?
And that's my opinion. I actually agree with him, right?
Sure.
So, first off, too many people have this. They're coming at it from the wrong angle. They're like, "Oh, we don't arm teachers. It's not their job." Yeah, it's not their job. They're not the SWAT team. I'm not saying you need to arm them and have them hunt down killers in the hallways, but like Pincus said, and I totally agree. If you can't evade, if you can't run, and you're forced to barricade,
Mm-hmm.
that's a basic home defense scenario. You're barricaded in a room
Yes.
with your firearm.
But now, hold on, because the guy in the corner that you can only hear sometimes, he likes it when we break things down. Is that how you
break
said
it
it?
down, yeah.
Break it down.
Yeah.
So we're going to break it down. When you said your basic home defense scenario, you're referring to, like, let's say classes you teach where, you know, you're going to go and you're going to try to evade, right? First thing is get away from the bad thing.
Always.
Sure. And if you can get your and if you can't evade and get out of there with your family and you have to barricade in some place, might want to arm yourself, right?
Yep. Somehow
So-
improvise, or if you have a weapon, it's
Sure.
more efficient.
So it's interesting that you can get everybody on board. And when I say everybody, lots of people aren't even, and to this day, a lot of people aren't even aware of what like Alice training or active shooter training or anything is, right?
Right.
But let's say we could get them all on board with that. And then they're all about the fact that, hey, you know, let's get 90 degrees off the point of entry. And when this bad guy comes through the door, the teacher's going to blast him in the face with the fire extinguisher and just literally crush his skull with a red can. And I think a lot of people would realize that, you know, that's a good option, right? Like that is something you should do instead of just,
Stand there and take it.
yep.
Yeah.
But yet then you say, wait a minute, let's switch the fire extinguisher and give that teacher a firearm and put them at least 2 arms full, you know, like full extension off the door. A little farther would be better. 90 degrees off the door. And if the bad guy comes through the door with a gun, shoot him. And all of a sudden it becomes
It becomes this big deal.
huge
right?
deal, right?
So let me ask this though. What's more complicated or harder or whatever you want to say about that compared to like I'm walking around in the Walmart? I would say that the Walmart is way more chaotic,
Well, sure.
right? We let people carry in the Walmart or around in the general public.
Sure. But you got to remember, there's a lot of people that don't approve of that either.
Well, that's true. But so
lot.
I'm coming from the baseline assumption that it's okay to do that,
Okay.
right? So why is it not okay for teachers to have it in the school?
Because,
I'm saying there's no difference.
well, I understand. And you're going to have a bunch of people say they're going to shoot a kid that comes in the room. They're going to do this. Is there a potential that could happen?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. And is there also a potential that they shoot the bad guy and stop him from killing
Of
more
course,
people?
I think there's an equal potential.
Yeah. So
Or
It's-
actually, that's wrong. It's not an equal potential. There's more of a potential to shoot the bad guy.
Sure.
There is a possibility they'd shoot the kid.
Sure.
A kid coming in the room.
Yep. But you're going to have people lock onto that. Oh my God, they're going to do. And you see these.
I mean, there's also a possibility that they don't do anything and 17 kids get shot in the hallway.
Yeah. And you see people saying, it's funny how teachers are the greatest thing in the world. And bear with me. Don't anybody throat punch me because you're a teacher. Teachers are the greatest thing in the world, and they can do all this, and they can do everything, and they're in charge of so much. And then you talk about, okay, well, what if they had a firearm and they're licensed to carry it? All of a sudden, that's like this overwhelming thing for them to supposedly handle, right? Have you seen any posts like that?
I
People are
have,
talking
and
about-
I've seen people but they're all coming at, like I said before, they're all coming at it from the wrong angle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just merely saying we should get rid of, I hate the term gun-free zones because I think it's a cliche, but get rid of those, right? Allow people to carry in schools just like they can carry any other place that they're legally allowed to, and then let people do what they're going to do. There's going to be some teachers that carry. Like if I was a teacher, I would carry. There's going to be some that won't. Okay, there's going to be some that would quit their job because people are carrying. There's going to be some that now I can be a teacher because, it's life, right? Why do we got to carve out these areas?
See that?
Why do we got to carve out these areas that are special, have special rules when they don't need to have any special rules?
Matt Wilson should be allowed to be a teacher.
Well, I don't know about
what-
that.
Oh, that's
See,
right.
you guys know
That's
Matt.
right.
I don't know Matt.
You know Matt Wilson.
Well,
yeah, you do.
maybe I
So, I don't think you can use that many F-bombs in school, can you, anymore?
I use them all the time.
I
It
understand.
might change our society.
Mm-hmm. For the better, I think.
So, I don't understand unless they have a unless they're way over here on this side of the argument where they're like, you shouldn't have a gun at all.
Yeah.
And there's going to be
And I
those
wish people would just say that when that's
Yeah.
how they feel.
so
Instead of saying, I grew up hunting butt.
right. If they don't want you to have, if they're like guns are bad, nobody needs a gun. Okay, that's where you're at in this discussion. But if you're like, you should be able to carry, but you need extra rules if you're a teacher, I'm like, you're dumb.
Yeah.
You don't need extra rules if you're a teacher because you don't need extra rules to carry around the neighborhood.
And to break it down to basics, like Shane said to do so, when you're talking about having to use deadly force inside a classroom, if you need to,
If you need to.
it's very much like being in my home surrounded by people I care about that I don't want to accidentally shoot.
It's very, very similar, right?
So, yeah.
and you still have to, satisfy proportionality and disparity of force and all these things, right? You're still responsible for that.
Sure.
Having a firearm just gives you another avenue, and once again, the whole active shooter scenario is not a static, linear thing where we're gonna like
Run, hide, fight.
run, hide, fight. We're going to run and we're going to get out and oh crap, the door's locked. Now we got a barricade in here and let me find an improvised weapon. Oh, I got this fire extinguisher and I got my gun. And, because maybe I can't use my gun because he burst in on me when I wasn't expecting it and he's too close. And now I'm wrestling, so I need like physical skills. It's a fluid situation. But having a firearm.
Say that military thing. Say there's a lot of moving parts.
There's a lot of moving parts.
That's
If people think it's just going to happen like boom, 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 like run, hide, fight, and why do they need guns? They're just going to, get it taken away and get shot by it. If you looked at the amount of, active killers that had less skill than the general public, they're not superhuman. They come from the general public,
yeah.
right?
That was one of the points I made to these gentlemen this morning. Is like I said, is there's no good way to talk about the Parkland shooting, any of these school shootings, but they were so hung up on the gun he had, and they had been watching the media. It had a higher velocity bullet. That gun made the 223 a higher velocity round than it is in other guns, and we had to so here we are technically breaking down to say no, that's not true. It doesn't change what a bad situation is to where when you can trap kids in a cement room they can't get out of and shoot them, that's bad. So when I say what matters, doesn't matter if the velocity was 2,700 feet per second or 3,100 feet per second. If you shoot people and you don't allow medical people to help them, it increases their chances of dying. So, and when there's no one there to fight back, it increases that bad guy's ability to do bad things.
And to my point,
And when his gun jams,
that's what I was going to say. To my point, he quit.
Yeah.
when he had a malfunction,
Yes.
right?
Because I also referred to him, and we'll touch on this later. So, not all suicidal people, are maniac killers and mass killers. But are a lot of mass killers suicidal people?
Yeah, they can be.
Yep. I mean, they kind of, most of them go in with a plan that they're not coming out, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's true. Yeah.
yeah. And most of them, like you say, when they meet any type of force, and when I say force, they even realize the cops are here yelling at them, right?
Yeah.
Or, they shoot themselves. So I would like people way smarter than me to say, yeah, I'm not trying to say, I've known a lot of people in their lifetime that went through bad times and struggled with thoughts of suicide. Never did any of them say, well, I'm going to go shoot 20 people on my way out. That wasn't their thing. But it sure seems like a lot of people that are mass killers are suicidal. So if we could reduce both those rates, that would be great. But he was the odd man out because he ran out with the kids, like you deal with in training, right? Like when they try to blend in with the group of kids.
Right.
And so in the beginning, I'm like, wow, that's really weird. He played it perfect. He ran out of there with them, blah, blah, blah. And then, as you say, there's reports coming out that really his gun jammed. So he threw it down because he didn't have another gun. So who knows if he went in there ready to write his life off or not already.
So I guess to come circle back, my position is yes, we should allow teachers to be armed, but not in the context of like all these people are thinking that there's some sort of extra security. They're not extra security. They're just people that happen to be armed in their place of work, just like a lot of other people
It's
are
like
in their place of work.
A pizza place owner carrying a gun.
Right. Exactly.
A car repair place guy, and he carries a gun at work.
Yep.
All right.
So that's
a gun store owner guy, then he carries a gun at work.
Right.
Yeah.
That'd be unusual.
Yeah. But, like you said, people are they already start the rhetoric of, oh my God, with all these teachers or anybody, if you don't make schools a gun-free zone, all these people are going to have guns and all these bad things are going to happen. It's like they're already gun-free zones and we're already having bad things happening, which is why we're having this conversation.
Right.
So,
and I would even, a lot of people don't realize, we're here in Iowa. You can carry a gun into a school in Iowa if you get permission from the school district, like whoever the administrator is. I mean, if you...
I saw that little article in the news the other day, and that was like mind-blowing to some people. That
if you ask and they, by some miracle, because everybody knows they're probably not going to say yes, but because it's just the type of people that are in the administration for school districts. But if somehow you convince them that you need to have one, you can legally have one if you get permission.
Now that the news has made everyone aware of that Iowa law that's existed forever, it'll be funny to see how panicked some people are to try to change that.
Yeah, that will be interesting to see if they try to slip it in on some, budget bill or something to change that language.
A lot of things going on with bills in Iowa and guns. So, you believe in Army teachers. You believe in letting teachers be armed.
I believe
Two
in
different things.
I like the way you put that. I believe in letting teachers be armed.
Sure. Those that choose to take their responsibility.
Yep. And I don't think they need any more training than I think they should get training, like we always say, but they shouldn't need to have any more training to do that.
There shouldn't be a government set bar to jump over.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There you go. And I understand that there's people that feel differently. I've seen in some states where, in Florida, how about in Florida? Are teachers allowed to be armed there now? Is that part of their bill?
I'm not.
Don't act like you don't know that.
Now you put me on the spot. I don't know. I didn't read the bill.
So it'll be interesting that, there's states that say you need 132 hours of training now to carry a gun if you're a teacher or whatever. And as much as you and I agree with that,
that's in Florida, 132 hours.
I believe, somebody following us will know more than we do. Have them chime in. If Eric's media's out there, he's probably already got the bill and he'll send it here in a minute.
We'll be getting a PDF copy to our emails.
Let's say it's 132 hours of training. That's awesome. Somebody would take that much training. And 132 hours of training is more than probably most law enforcement actually have.
Yeah, so that'd be roughly 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks of like 8-hour days.
And there's going to be a lot of police officers say, but what's Iowa Law Enforcement Academy? Somebody can chime in and tell us. I think they do. I think they do 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
I think they do one near the beginning and one near the end or whatever. So, hey, it's great they would have that much training. I just don't want it to be set for the teachers. Like you said, it's just a person at work with a carry permit, really. And when people but think of all the bad things they could do. That's, like you said, they could do all that in Walmart. They could do all that. And meanwhile, bad guys are doing that without permits with illegally possessed guns anyway.
Yep.
But those are facts, and facts aren't fun.
Yeah, facts aren't fun.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes facts are fun, but those aren't. Okay, are we done with arming teachers?
Yeah, I think so. I think we.
Did anybody ask any questions? Did we
Yeah.
disappear off
Yeah,
Facebook?
No, we had a lot. No,
Oh
we
my
had-
God, there's
he's-
questions.
So
we had
Shane's
a
gonna
lot
bring
of
up some questions.
Actually, and everybody
Oh.
can hear me. So let me start off by saying thank you, Eric, Matt, Matthew, Zadie's, Sergio, Thomas, Harry, Craig, Scott, Casey, Martin, all you guys, Dave, Cirillo, Aaron, for watching today, and there's a lot of other people watching. Thank you for your questions and your comments. I appreciate it. One thing, Chris Oldfather, he took your met Mike at EMS Day in Hiawatha a week ago. Great presenter on triage and tourniquets. So
I
props
remember
to you,
him.
Mike.
Thanks, Chris.
There was a question. And I believe you guys answered it from Matthew. Let's talk about how society got to the point where we have to arm school staff and teachers. And
That's like a whole show right there.
yeah.
Yes. The general decay of morals in America, really the world, but
Yeah, and Craig Beadle said, I remember a shooting at C.R. Jefferson where a kid shot his bully and paralyzed him in the 60s, but only one, though. So there's been other school
There've
shootings,
been other school shootings. Yeah.
but just not televised.
Yeah, they're not got the 24-hour news coverage. I mean, I vaguely remember, honestly, and this just could be my teenage brain dredging up old memories, but I vaguely remember a threat when I went to junior high at Harding Junior High in the 70s, that there was a threat somebody was going to bring a gun to school. I remember that but they didn't evacuate the school or anything like that, so I don't know how credible it was, but I remember that. So that was back in the 70s.
there was no posting on the internet then, was there?
No, there was no posting.
Al
on
Gore
that.
had not invented it yet.
No, Al Gore.
So,
I
hey,
love
there,
Al Gore.
now we can see things.
There you go.
Hey, Eric says, I told you he would be here.
We're
Tell me how you
getting
feel
to
about-
that, Eric. We're getting to that.
And meanwhile, Eric, since you know everything, he could find out how many, did Florida pass the law that teachers can carry and how many hours of training do they have to have? So what else do we have?
Now, he read all of those. So
Okay,
let's
all
talk
right.
about H.R. 5087.
Really, let's just say it outlaws everything.
It does.
Yeah.
The bill to outlaw everything.
So Eric would know that, 126 pages, I think.
Yeah,
126 pages
And I'm
long.
not going to say I read them word for word, but I did read most of them, or at least skim most of them. They listed every single firearm that I could think of.
Sure.
Like every semi-automatic firearm that I could think of.
Yeah.
They even had high points in there. I'm like, they're taking away the high points, man.
Yeah.
And
Because
again,
it has,
and again, for everybody who
okay.
is listening, describe what is a semi-automatic, because there's
Okay,
misunderstandings.
I guess that's a great point because you're right. The gentleman this morning that I was talking to thought semi-automatic meant it was a machine gun. So
Only if it's full semi-automatic.
yeah, so semi-automatic just simply means it's going to fire every time you pull the trigger. It's going to fire one round. You have to let off the trigger and then press the trigger again. So however many
Without working any action or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. So however many rounds are in the magazine, that gun's going to fire that many rounds with a single trigger press each time. So, most people that say, those ARs, they're this or that. And I'm like, do you grow up with a Marlin Model 60 or a squirrel gun? Well, yeah, it had a tube underneath there and it would hold 15 rounds. I'm like, there you go. Same thing. Except that's tube fed instead of magazine fed. But yeah, the Ruger 1022's on there. Everything's on that list.
Like
Your Glocks are on there, your XDs, whatever you guys love, HKs. Everything's on there because it's the gun that is capable of taking a magazine more than 10 rounds.
So, my first question is: do you think they even think they have a chance in hell, or are they trying to do the old sales tactic of I'm going to ask for the world and let them?
Let's pretend we're not live on a podcast right now. You ready?
Right.
Let's make some people butt hurt. Here we go. You know what my problem with it is?
What?
All those people in the gun world that sit around and say this will never pass because it didn't pass before, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't feel the wave of emotions going across this country of what I would say a lot of times is a vast number of misinformed people, I mean, if you don't think this is different, you're crazy. I mean, you're crazy. And just like I don't blame these impassioned kids, I don't blame them. I get that they feel like they have to do something. And then you would even say, right, you've said some of them are pawns for TV and this and that, right, being coached.
I have said that.
You
yeah.
said that. It's okay. I agree with you. Some of them are. I think what started out as a good idea inside their heart has become this huge political whirlwind. And now it's even become more, I would say there's people on board just because they see this as the youth changing America, right?
It's the 60s, man.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
So if you don't think that they have the ability to get more than 50% of the country on board or to get the legislators to go forth and represent them, if you want to sit back in the gun world and say this is all fine, it's not going to happen, you're part of the problem.
You just called me part of the problem because I said the exact words to Shane before
Then
you
you are part of the problem.
Part of the problem.
First, you need to be involved on a state level because, look at what's happened when people say nothing's happened for the last however many years. Obama didn't take away anybody's rights. I never said he did. But what happened during that time frame? You had Connecticut change their state law just like that after a shooting. So Florida just changed the law. When's the last time you saw the shooting was Valentine's Day, right?
Yeah.
So between Valentine's Day and March 12th, they wrote a law and passed a law in the state of Florida. Is the state of Florida pretty important in most elections?
It is.
Hello?
Hanging Chad.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Hanging Chad.
So how big of a deal is it to sit here and watch people try to win Florida, right? Even this last Hillary Clinton-Trump election, sitting there waiting to see who would win Florida. So if you don't realize how powerful that is, and when people say, well, they didn't really change anything, they did away with this, this, and this. It's the fact that Florida got together and pressured their governor, who I would say is not an anti-gun governor.
He had an A or an A plus rating from
sure.
the NRA. Yeah.
Nope, not in my book anymore.
Well,
So-
I don't think the NRA is going to give him an A plus rating anymore.
I don't give the NRA an A plus rating, so that's all right. But did they? What did you hear
What?
that?
Did I just heard
You
a
just
guy
said that?
say he didn't give
So-
the NRA an A+? rating?
However, so that was hard to explain to those guys this morning too, and they're like, "How do you feel about the NRA?" I'm like, "You don't have enough time." And when I say you don't know enough, my thing with the NRA is several things with like their whole Kerry Garden where they went that direction, right? And then second of all, trying to explain to them that on one hand, I'm not trying to tell you everybody needs a bump stock and it changes the world. On the other hand, I'm telling you the problem is the NRA went and said, we want you to reclassify this thing that doesn't do what we says it does. And the government, by the way, came out with a report. What's the ATF guy that's now required? Was it Vasquez that, even he's out there speaking saying it doesn't change the rate of fire. So now we're like redefining the definition of machine gun, right?
That's what we do.
Yeah.
We redefine things till they fit
Let's
our
keep solving.
preconceived.
Let's keep
notions.
let's keep solving things and putting. And I just told him, I said, you know how much time, effort, and energy and taxpayers' money has been put into all this talk of something that. Do I think it's going to change the outcome of violence in America in the next 10 years? No, it's not.
So you don't think, because I'm part of the problem.
Go ahead.
I'm part of the problem.
Yep.
You don't think that bill, H.R. 5087, with 126 pages.
I think it's 126 pages.
126
Eric
pages.
Sismady would know.
Yeah,
I keep looking like he's over there.
Yeah, he's not over there.
Eric,
Hey.
talk to me.
126 pages of individually listed gun models and manufacturers. You think it's going to pass as is?
No, but here's the problem. Do I think do you not believe, wholeheartedly, do you not believe there's half of the country that would go with it? Population-wise.
I believe.
I know we have the
I'm not going
electoral
to say
college,
half,
but-
and this is just my opinion, so I don't have any facts back. I believe there's always 10%. So you got 10%, right, of the people that would say, yeah, let's do this whole thing. You got 10% that are totally against it, and then you got like 80% in the middle that you can sway some of those people, and some of those people won't be swayed. What I think is that something's going to happen, but I don't think that's going to pass as is. But that's what I'm saying. They're using a tactic that's tried and true. Let's ask for the moon. Like I'm going into my boss for a raise. Hey, I want $5,000 a month. He's like, that's ridiculous, but I'll give you $200. I'm like, well, that's cool because I only thought I was going to get 50.
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing.
Sure.
So something's going to happen.
But I'm going to remind people that those are your elected officials, as in this country, just like it's our president. It's your elected officials think that it's worth taking forth. And I think there's going to be a lot more people on board than you think. Look at these guys this morning that every one of them said, I am a gun owner. I grew up with guns. But so there's 8 gun owners that don't feel the same way you and I do about it.
Right.
So you can't say you can't tell yourself, well,
They're part
you
of
know,
the 80%. I
yeah,
just
well,
mentioned.
well, they say you can't go and say, well, there's 80 million documented gun owners in this country, legal document, so they're all on board against this. No, they're not.
No. But
No.
that's where the
'Cause
education,
they think they're
and that's
semi-automatic
where
1100s
you go in to
different.
talk to these dudes. So if you had 8,
I'm tired of talking to people.
No, you're not.
I am.
No, you're not.
I told you last night. Did I call you last
You
night?
did. We
Did
had
I have
heart,
a heart?
we had a heart
Did
to
I
heart
have a
last
heart
night.
heart last night?
Yeah, we had a heart to heart.
And
So
I
that's
told you,
this is a
I'm
pep
sick of
talk. I'm
talking.
giving you a pep talk
I'm
right now.
sick of
So
talking to
you
people.
talked to 8 people today that
Yeah.
are quote unquote gun owners.
Mm-hmm.
What if? And you don't know.
Yeah,
You might have changed somebody's mind this
I
morning.
might have.
So-
one of them wanted to know if they could turn their guns into the police department, wholeheartedly, truly.
So we
They
lost
wanna-
that guy. Let that guy go.
Yeah.
But what about the other 7? You might have.
Well, there's 2 of them that really don't like me. All they wanted to talk about was the Koch brothers and the NRA and what they've made happen. And I'm like, can you tell me what it is they've made happen with gun laws in Iowa?
I'm saying you affected some attitudes, like in some small way. Like you never know, right? Like the kind of quintessential story where the
Oh, I know the
kid
one guy really doesn't like me.
the kid gets a handshake from somebody, and then 60 years later he saves that guy's life. You heard those kind of stories?
Sure.
Like the doctor that saves the baby and the baby becomes
You've
a
been
paramedic
watching that
and
Facebook story, haven't you?
There's lots of stories
I
like
know,
that.
yeah. So
So
anyway,
I'm just saying, talk
I don't
and
think any of
education
those
is going
guys-
to bring that 80%.
I don't think any
know?
of those guys watch the podcast, so this isn't like giving away secret information because they don't watch the podcast. What's awesome is they were already we left so many things unsaid or they had more questions about
That's why you're going back.
is why I'm going back. And you know who I'm taking with me? So I was talking to a person between there and here, and so the Marion Police Chief's going to go back and talk.
Nice.
Yeah.
Bring in the big guns.
I'm going to bring in and say, I don't care if he's I don't want to run around and say the police chief's super pro gun. My opinion he is. I don't want to speak for him, but the point is what he is he's like pro rights. Like, well, let's take away rights from the people that show they don't deserve them, and they're willing to give them up.
And for guys like that and the demographic you were talking about, the mantle of authority that a police chief has, that's important to them.
But like I said, I went in there this morning with that many notes, and I said, here's your 2016 FBI. Here's your statistics based off your government. That's the newest one they have, 2016 FBI crime statistics. And boy, you could just tell when you talk to some people and say, okay, I understand it's emotional. I understand your concern. I care about people's safety too. And I said, you guys came to me because you asked around people that you trusted, and you literally spent the very beginning of this meeting saying, everyone talks so highly of you. And so we looked you up on the interwebs. And it says you do training and you do this, so we want to talk to you. I'm like, so you bring me here because people you respect say that I'm the guy to talk to. But as soon as I started talking about, hey, 2016, you ready? Everybody can go home and learn that. 2016, remember that the Florida shooting happened in 2016? You and I were, I don't know if you were at that class or not. I was with Pincus. We were over at the Linden House eating breakfast in the morning with cornbread.
From
So
the
I'm
Pulse nightclub?
Yep. And I'm watching that go across there. And literally, I'd been awake like 5 minutes and haven't had coffee yet. And you know what's sad is you're used to seeing like emergency EMS people, and you see bright yellow reflective jackets on TV and like ticker tapes going across the bottom. And immediately I was thinking like it's going to be Tel Aviv or something, right? It's going to be somewhere else that I see all this going on. And then I hear them talking about Miami. And even then, I was like, is there other places called Miami? In other countries, literally, processing of information. And they said Miami, Florida, and it was just like, wow. We were all just sitting there going, holy cow. Now, those deaths are included in your 2016 statistics. So, in 2016, 374 people were murdered with rifles.
You know how many people were killed in Iowa in traffic accidents in 2017?
Tell me.
Right about the same number.
Yeah. Yeah, there's about 334. I think 334
kind
was
of a point of reference.
Yeah, I think like right around 334, I think was Iowa's traffic deaths.
Yep.
And the signs remind you of that.
Right, that's why I know.
Sure.
It's not like I go around researching traffic deaths.
Well, no, and I actually do because I want to look at the things that, because I care about people.
Mm-hmm.
Like I told these guys, I said, it's
that's
not
in
that
Iowa, not nationwide.
That's in Iowa. Yeah.
And your statistic is nationwide.
Yeah. And I wonder if anybody remembers that their taxes paid for an Iowa Department of Public Health ad that was running about a year ago. Your taxes paid for that. Iowa Department of Public Health. They were running an ad telling you how opiates is killing more people than cars in Iowa. So opiates kill more people, and then cars kill more people, and then you come way down and talk about, okay, how many people were murdered? When I say I don't care how they're murdered, how many people were murdered in Iowa? And then you want to break it down by what it was that did it. I'm just worried about like the whole thing, you know? Suicidal people overdose, right?
Yeah.
Suicidal people drive their cars into embankments. Suicidal people could shoot themselves. So let's focus on the how did they get to be suicidal, and how did we, even as their friends, fail them, or the community fail them, or whatever it is. So it doesn't matter how they went and killed themselves, really. But that is, we'll talk about that later.
So
We're getting off track. These guys they didn't like what my original thing. You can tell them facts, and you can see the people like shake them off. Like the one guy just was not happy with, well, I don't care about that. He still wanted to talk about the lethality, and he kept saying this. It makes holes in people that big. And I'm like, I am not going to belittle people that were killed with a rifle. But it wasn't because they had exit wounds this big. And if you really want, I said, go talk to your friends and your combat friends of what it was like to try to stop humans in combat with a .223 Full Metal Jacket bullet. All of that, when you're done finding out the facts, doesn't solve anything of how did we get there? How did a kid who grew up pissed off and angry and interact with the police department 20 times and be told, hey, specifically this guy's a problem by the FBI, who closed that case in January, and now that's coming out that they closed that case and that there was they used the words ball dropped there. So these guys are looking to the government to keep them safe, and the same government did not keep those people safe.
But the same government's trying to pass H.R. 5087
Sure.
and outlaw. Like, how is that even logistically going to work?
You know what it reminds me
Let's
of?
say if it happens, how are they even going to logistically, do this?
Yeah. Well, hey, if Eric says, we could literally use him as like live research. If he's on there, I'd like him to look something up. Somebody out there, please look up when I say what Illinois just passed. Of course, it still has to be voted on. Go look at the bill that passed their House, and they raised the age of
To 21.
21, and the other thing is they can't be in possession of more than 10-round magazines.
Right. Like,
You can't buy more.
There's no grandfather.
You
things.
have to go get rid of them.
Yeah.
So if you own $5,000 or $50 worth it, when people say the government doesn't want to take your stuff away, the government wants to take your stuff away. The government's telling you need to go give it to someone else and have them register it, or you can't have it. That's called taking things away.
All right.
Sure.
I think this bill has a grandfather clause, but
Oh, wait, though. Somebody out there way smarter than me. Guess what? I do not have the time to read all these things, but I'm going to regurgitate what I've read from a couple people I trust. And literally, I want to say there's like a section. Somebody will find it. I've been told 3 or 4 times, and I want to go find it. 126 pages. I actually printed that out. Is that you cannot lawfully conceal carry any of the models on that list.
I didn't see that.
Go find that part. Go
I didn't
see
see that.
somebody go see if that exists.
Mhm.
I trust the people that brought it up, whether that's only part of the original bill and they've changed anything. But
Well, I don't think that. I mean, the Supreme Court. Well, actually, no.
Yeah.
The Ninth Circuit Court
yeah.
already ruled that concealed carry is not under Second Amendment protection.
Mm-hmm.
Concealed carry specifically.
even though,
I think there'd be quite a fight. There's going to be quite a fight.
yeah.
But going back to the original being part of the problem thing, I don't think that's going to pass.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's going to get out of committee. I think it's a Hail Mary pass. They're trying to do it for awareness.
I'm going to pick on you.
Oh, yeah, do it.
I'm going to pick on you.
Doing it for awareness. They're trying to, get sensationalize some stuff in the media.
I don't even know what that's for, but I'm using it for
You just made a tool. That's why humans are better than, like, say, donkeys, right? Because we can make tools on the fly like that.
I am glad that's why you picked a human over a donkey.
I know.
So the
Yeah,
gun world,
I think it's a
the gun world
grandstanding
in
play.
general, the vast majority of it, I feel, and if they're offended and they think I'm wrong, I want them to go prove me. The vast majority say Trump's in office, nothing bad's going to happen. I'm going to sit back. We're okay.
Yeah, that's not true. He's never been a Second Amendment guy.
But I'm telling you, people they'll say, "Oh, I never felt that way." Magically, they've jumped on that wagon lately since he said, "Let's just go take away people's guns and they can use due process to get them back." Now all of a sudden, he's not popular with some people he was popular with, right?
Now,
But I would bet you if you went backwards 4 months ago, everybody'd tell you it's all fine because look who our president is. You know, we have a Republican. It's not even this Trump. We have a Republican president. This isn't going to happen, blah, blah, blah. Go look at how many laws have changed and in what way at state levels in every state. Go make yourself familiar with California's law that they passed. Go make yourself familiar with, you know, like I said, go back and look at after Sandy Hook what Connecticut did. How did Maryland get the gun laws it has? How did New Jersey get the gun laws? It wasn't the president that made the New Jersey gun laws. So it's not the president, you know, and again, it's not the president, but he signs off yes or no. You should be worried about federal things, and you should also be worried about state laws. Because just like this concerned group I met with this morning, and when I say concerned group, who do you think's more likely to sit down and write a legislator? A high school kid who's standing outside his school screaming, yelling about doing something, or actually these 65-year-old guys that I met with this morning that meet every Monday to talk about such things? Who's going to get the ear? Who's
probably
your opinion?
the older guy.
Yeah,
The
and
older-
he'll
the
actually
older
take
group.
the time that's retired and write letters and do things. So I can tell you that there's people out there working against you, and they almost they're more united in their fight than what I would say the gun world is. They really are. A lot of people in the gun world are ass clowns to each other, aren't they?
They are. Because
Quit saying clip. Quit saying
Yeah,
clip.
I was just gonna say we're more worried about the
Assault
using-
rifle,
the-
yeah.
Don't say assault rifle.
Yeah.
Quit being pedantic.
Yes,
Yeah.
quit being pedantic. That's the word of the
So,
day.
you know what? And I'm guilty of that myself. You know, I'm guilty of like letting it drive me nuts that Sean Hannity, who keeps talking about how he's trained and he's pro-gun, even though you go backwards in the last couple months, if I hear Sean Hannity talk about all those clips he has, but it's fine. I get what he's referring to. But don't call yourself a super educated, trained person and keep talking about the clips for your gun.
Well,
but I also don't care.
I kind of, all that stuff, kind of used to drive me crazy too. But then I put it down to the English language and language in general is an evolving thing.
Yeah.
So
Ass clown evolved.
as cloud evolved,
Mhm.
like I first heard that term back in I don't know, the 80s, right? But now everybody says it.
Yeah.
Um,
It's cool again.
it's cool again.
Like parachute pants.
And what are those Cavichis,
Z Cavaricis.
Yeah.
Z Cavaricis?
Yeah.
Peg legs.
But anyway, language evolves. So clip, maybe it wasn't the thing to say before, but now that's the word. Everybody knows what it means. It's like assault rifle. Like, yeah, that's not what it is, but now it kind of is what it is because that's what everybody calls it. So
Sure.
that just language evolves. So get over it, and
Get over
try to change.
We're way off. We're way off. We're still going.
Try to change people's minds by talking to them and evangelizing
Mhm.
and trying to get them on your side with facts and logic and reason and all that stuff.
I do have a comment.
Comments.
You asked what was it back in Greek mythology where you would go and ask one person, they had all the knowledge, they could see the future.
Can people ask
that
you
was
hearing that question?
yeah,
I
yeah,
hope so.
yeah, yeah. That was the Oracle.
Okay, well the Oracle, I'll just call it Eric, the Oracle.
The
Mhm.
Oracle.
Oh, Eric says media?
Yeah,
it
awesome.
was, it
That's
was
what I'm reading.
House,
He
It was
is.
House Bill 4297 that passed 64-51.
Yes.
That's what
In
it was.
Illinois.
In Illinois.
Yes. Thank you,
And
Eric.
Jesse Malley chimed in. I thought they ruled concealed carry was a 2A right. That's why Illinois had to start issuing.
Jesse, they ruled that possessing a firearm for self-defense, in a nutshell, was a Second Amendment right. But the Ninth Circuit Court last year ruled that does not necessarily mean concealed carry.
Yes.
So there's going to be a fight on that.
Sure. And what I always tell everybody when I say I'm not being political, I'm going to use a political term, is where's the pro-gun version of George Soros? There isn't any.
No,
There's
there really
like,
isn't.
And when people say, well, that's because smart rich people or they know guns are stupid. No, it's just you don't. I almost wonder if there's some, if you want to say more conservative or constitutionalist type person that's a billionaire, just like isn't going to throw their money away at it. Literally saying to themselves, I'm throwing my money away.
Well, that's because they're complacent. I agree that in that regard, people.
I mean, if I had
are-
$1 billion, I would spend, at least like half of it just taking this fight to them. You know how many firearm laws could be found to be unconstitutional if you had the lawyers to go argue it? A whole
fair
bunch.
amount.
Oh,
fair amount,
sure.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, and I would do that. If I had that money, I would do that. And at the same time, that isn't going to change crime. It doesn't change this problem of this culture we have where it's okay to shoot people over a Facebook argument, which is what you have going on. That happens right around here.
It does. People get upset about
And
Facebook
people steal
stuff.
guns and kill people with them. Bad guys steal guns and they use them to do bad guy things. You're looking really hard at your phone.
I'm looking at the questions.
Okay. Well, if we have questions, let's answer them. Otherwise, I'm going to go down my list and say, Mike, you haven't talked about this yet.
Well, there was one question. Chris wants to know, Chris Nelson, what do you guys think about the congressional candidate who cut the barrel on her husband's AR?
I brought that up to those gentlemen this morning to where, and they're even saying, oh, the ATF's going to investigate that. Nothing's going to happen to that lady.
So let's kind of, was it Florida? Was she in Florida or
No, I don't think
Virginia? I believe it's on the East Coast. It doesn't matter.
She cut a barrel down.
She's a
She made it
state
illegal.
congressional candidate. She took an AR. I hate ARs. This one's not good. My husband bought this a while ago, and we decided we don't need it, so I'm going to make it unusable. And she cut it, and down by the
you know what I'm going to say?
the sites, I think.
What's that word?
Pedantic.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was talking
That's
about.
all it is.
Everybody's like, oh, well, ha, 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 and now you made it a short-barreled rifle, and you're going to jail.
If you think anything's happening to that
The
lady,
ATF is
you're
going to look
high.
at that and say, no, she wasn't. She's an idiot that tried to cut an AR in half. She was not manufacturing a short-barreled rifle.
Yeah.
They're not going to waste their time, effort, and energy on investigating that.
But Ruby Ridge happened over a guy having a short-barreled shotgun, right?
Right. Well, they trapped him into it.
It's interesting how that works.
And they shot his
But
dog.
anyway.
They shot his dog.
So for
And his
people
wife.
who don't know, a change to the length of a barrel.
If you take a rifle that's over 16 inches long and you cut that rifle barrel down to less than 16 inches long, you committed a felony,
perfect,
which
So-
she
'Cause I don't
did.
think
She did
people
live on
understand that.
Facebook.
So they did.
So did the other guy in his backyard that made one of the first videos
But
I
in
saw.
a society where we won't enforce the illegal immigration laws,
Yeah. Ooh.
and I'm
Are
not
we
getting into
going there?
legal. I'm just saying there's a pattern of not enforcing laws that are existing.
Mhm.
They're not going to worry about this.
I watched some of that on many different news channels yesterday, and I had to turn it off because I wasn't in a good mood yesterday.
Yeah.
That's why I called you.
Yeah.
But I wasn't in a good mood, and just then when you're not in a good mood, things make you mad. Like if you saw the guy who killed somebody drunk driving, and then they wouldn't. He posted a $25,000 bond somehow, even though he is a illegal. He is here illegally. What do you want to call that?
Illegal
a
alien?
non-documented foreign national.
I call it an illegal immigrant,
'Kay.
illegal alien, whatever
So
you call it. Illegal is the operative
He
word
posted
there.
$25,000. A guy that's not from here posted. He got bail, $25,000. Posted bail, and he's gone now, and I don't know where he's at. But anyway, he killed somebody drunk driving. So he's here illegally, killed someone. We're not blaming the Ford truck apparently, but now what do we do? I mean, and literally the whole story is ICE was like harping on the sheriff's department, whatever, saying, hold that dude, hold that dude for us. We're coming for him. Nope, they wouldn't do it. It's like, then what do we care about? I thought every life mattered. What about the person in that car that got T-boned by this drunk dude? I thought every life mattered.
But they're not going to prosecute him. Well, they are, but they let him out.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, like the point is, they're not going to do anything. Jesse, they're not
Now
going to do
you got
anything.
me thinking.
They're not going to do anything.
You
to
got
that
me
lady.
thinking now. Now I'm mad. I'm really mad. But anyway. Everybody that
I
thinks
agree with everybody. The intent or not, she broke the law. That's not the point. We all agree, but that's what I'm talking about. Being
say the word
pedantic. Look,
pedantic. I'm going to make a rhyme about that.
we're gonna make
later.
a rhyme because we're so worried about. Oh, look, she broke the law on the internet. Like, who freaking cares?
Yeah. Really,
Like-
meanwhile.
Meanwhile, they're trying to pass this bill.
Hey, maybe this is like you're a mole. Maybe this was all designed by setup. Instead of sitting around and talking about that stupid video and her being uneducated, spend those 4 hours writing your state representatives
Yep.
about how you don't want to see that stuff happen here. Go join the Iowa Firearms Coalition. Go help Kurt. Go ask where you can volunteer. Where, and it's not all about money. It really isn't. I don't want to speak for Kurt, but I would say
Kurt Liskey, by the way.
yes. So I didn't know if you want to name him by last name. That's fine.
Well.
So, I'm not telling everybody, oh, go give Iowa Firearms Coalition $100 your hard-earned money right now. That sounds a lot like who?
Salesman.
NRA. Yeah.
NRA.
So, do I believe in supporting both? I actually do. But you know what? I'm going to worry about home right now. Worry about the people that get things done. Worry about people that are worried about, the state that affects me the most. And here's the thing. I think if you ask Kurt, hey, do you want $100 or do you want me to actually spend 10 hours volunteering helping you do things that you need to do? He'll take the volunteer hours. That's the hard part to
Yeah,
get
right.
people to do.
Get people out there. Get people doing.
Did you
stuff.
just put that like on the whole screen? Is that up on our show
Well, not
somewhere?
yet. Well, it can be.
Okay.
If you want it
All
to.
right.
You're just so amazed at technology.
I
We
am.
got some very competent people here in this organization.
He's a wizard. He is a wizard. I won't use the other words that go in front of wizard, like from, you know.
So
But if you wanted to go to the Iowa Coalition or the Iowa Firearms Coalition
There they are.
and do something,
Mm-hmm.
make your voice heard.
There you go.
It's on the screen.
So I'm gonna say something that a good friend of mine, give a shout out to Matt. Matt gave a little talk. I helped Matt teach a little class yesterday,
Mhm.
and we were teaching CPR to a bunch of people. And these were people that were in a church and older folks. I mean, we're talking some of them were in their 80s, and they wanted to know what they could do if somebody had a cardiac arrest. And Matt made a statement that like kind of encapsulates everything you were just talking about, right? If you don't know what to do, doing something's better than nothing.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do perfect CPR, but if you do something that looks
If
like
you can't
CPR,
keep up with staying alive, it's
yeah,
still better than doing
it's
nothing.
Still better than doing nothing.
Are you
So-
making blood pump through the body?
Right.
Yep.
So in this context, rather than sitting home bitching about people making, cutting ARs up on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
join the IR Farms Coalition.
Yeah.
Do a little volunteering.
Sure.
Go out and talk to people in the morning at the coffee shop.
Yeah. Please
You-
do, so I don't have to anymore.
Please do.
Please.
Do something to make the situation better instead of just bitching about it and worrying about whether people call stuff clips or magazines or
Mhm.
freaking whatever.
Yeah.
Right? It's dumb.
It is dumb.
I'm actually really.
Can they hear you?
Yeah.
I
I'm
always have
actually-
to ask.
I'm actually really happy that you challenged those men today to go home, do some homework,
Sure.
because when you say, "I'm tired of talking and people aren't listening," when you meet back up with these gentlemen and they want to prove you wrong because
Yeah.
they don't like you,
Then they put some effort into it.
but they put some effort into it and they did some homework and now they're more informed.
They're more
period.
informed, but
That's my point.
I only become more frustrated if they come back and say, well, I read those numbers and you weren't lying. Those guns are used in less than 1% of all the violent crimes, blah, blah, blah. But we still want to do something about them. That's where I lose focus. There's a group of people out there, politicians, citizens, everything. You understand that there's people that want to have gun violence studied as a disease. They want the CDC to be able to study gun violence. And when people say the NRA doesn't want that, they don't want you. No, the problem is if you start having access to the knowledge of whether I have guns or not, right? I'm going to go with that's one of the things that the NRA doesn't like about the CDC studying is if you want to study something, you have to know how many people have them, right?
Right.
How many gun owners, really go around and saying, I have guns? When everybody's like, oh, they all do. They're talking about it on Facebook. Do you know how few gun owners are on Facebook compared to...
Talking about guns?
Yeah.
It's not a lot.
And when I say how many of them don't even have Facebook, I can tell you my Facebook. It's I'm a really bad business person because I'm honest. I can tell you about you take the 14,000 people that follow me, this, us, whatever, and it breaks it down by male, female, and where they're at around the country and their age groups.
Yeah.
There's very few people 50 and above on Facebook that follow my page. And when people would say, or you can look and say, well, the biggest group is 24 to 35.
So I'm elite again.
You're
aren't I?
elite. So,
All right.
the whole point is it's like all it's telling me is the demographics of the people that actually follow me on Facebook.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of people that come in my store and say, why don't you put more on your website? Because I'm not on Facebook. And so I'm going to listen to that. I need to
Yep.
start doing that more.
Yeah.
I need to make like a special deal email that goes out like we used to do with like a text
Like
blast.
a marketing email type
Sure, I'm
deal.
going to do that. I'm going to do that.
Jesse Malley has a good question. Any
What is
plans
it, Jesse
for
Malley?
2A day at the Capitol? And what is 2A?
I looked over there like Jesse was sitting next to Eric. Eric and Jesse are having coffee somewhere. Second Amendment Day at the Capitol. Well, if you go look on Iowa Firearms Coalition, they will tell you all about it. They go and participate that. I think they're even the people that started that. So
2A day.
Second Amendment Day. So, and here's my 2 cents worth. 2 cents.
2 cents.
If
Go.
you're going to do
cents.
that, don't be an ass clown. And I would say that right to Iowa Firearms Coalition too. Is this if you want to go, to me, and this is my opinion, my personal opinion. Here we go. You can go participate in Second Amendment Day, and you don't even have to take a gun with you, right?
You
let
don't have
alone-
to. No.
I'm not going to show up wearing an AR strapped over there. I'm not going to open carry. If you want to carry, I would do it very, discreetly, and I would be professional about it. And professional is discreet, right? Quite professional.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
it's one of those things that, and people would make fun of, like, you didn't even wear a gun to Second Amendment. It's about a right. It's not like, that's the thing.
So you have the right to not to do things as well.
I told this gentleman this morning too, and I was like, you guys are focused on this thing that, like, I said, I own a gun store, so you came to me. I said, if I owned a music store and I came and gave you the same facts, would you believe me more? Because the one guy's still just like, well, it's not in your interest for this to pass because then you can't sell. I'm like, you know how much I really don't care about selling guns, like, compared to everything else? But nobody pays me for everything else, do they?
No.
I don't even make enough money selling guns, but they sure don't pay me to go have a podcast. Unless, like, we're going to get a sponsor from Monster or something.
We could do that.
There you
We
go.
should. We should have some, like, anti-gun group sponsor us. I mean, why not? We'll take their money.
That'd be ironic.
I'm not going to change what I say for anybody, so you never know. I'll call up George Soros. We're getting off topic.
So
You ready?
508. What is our topic? 5087. So
Am
Yeah,
I worried about it?
I
I'm
don't-
worried about it.
I'm not.
I'm worried about it from the point of view that, Mike, let's say this. I don't know. Pick a group: Hispanic, white, black, whatever. We'll pick white people. So if somebody wanted to propose a bill that said, white people with blue eyes, they can't be out past 11 o'clock at night because, they drive drunk more often. How asinine of a bill would that be, right? Wouldn't it be a shame that anybody would even waste their time? Do people even realize there's been bills proposed right here in Iowa by one of, and the bill was, hey, you can have all the firearms you want, but they have to stay at the police department and you have to go check them out when you go hunting. And if you don't believe me, then you're part of those people that haven't been paying attention to what's happening.
Do you know that's already the policy on a lot of military bases?
Yeah.
Like,
How'd that work out in Fort Hood?
Well, it didn't work out very well in Fort Hood. I never had, when I lived on post, I never had weapons because it was such a pain in the ass to own them.
Sure.
On post.
Absolutely.
So effectively it was, gun
Yep.
control, whatever
Sure.
you want to call it. But yeah, so it happens.
In Fort Hood, that was workplace violence, right?
Yeah, it's workplace violence.
Workplace violence.
Yeah.
Anyway, I won't go there. So, see, now I can't even think. So here's the point. You have a politician in Iowa that thought it was worth your time and your taxpayers' money, not your time, their time and your money to go propose a bill that says, oh, you can't own. And by the way, he included, it wasn't just you can have any gun you want. It's you can't have all those other guns, much like on 5087. But your hunting guns, you can keep at the police department and you need to check them out. There's even a person right over in Mount Vernon on the city council that wanted to propose that too. So let alone another.
What was his name? He caused quite
It
a
doesn't
stir.
even matter. Yeah.
But he caused quite a stir a couple years ago.
Sure.
Yeah, I remember that.
I know. So
Yeah.
the point is 5087 is just as asinine as saying, white people with blue eyes aren't allowed to be out after 11. And we say that's never going to pass. It's stupid. Why should it even have been allowed? Like, why did somebody think it was okay to try to go make that statement? And you saw, like, down in Missouri, the lady who wanted to propose that, to own a gun, you need to go through everything you would to have an abortion. You have to have a doctor's appointment. You have to see a therapist. You have to do this, and you have to drive more than 100 miles from your home or whatever it was. People out there will know more. I'm not wrong about what I'm saying. That's where people want to. I mean, how asinine is that, right? Like, you and I have to go have an appointment. These guys this morning that were like, well, what about medical records? I'm like, I don't know. How's your prostate doing? Should I get to know that because you have a Ford truck? Because Ford truck killed somebody last month drunk driving. So how's your prostate? Have you talked to your doctor? Do you like boys? I mean, what medical records does everyone want to share with the government? So, but do something, right?
Do something.
Do something. Everybody's just like, do something. But let's try to, like, make it constructive and actually work on the problem, which is, young people that like to kill people. Domestic violence still an issue, isn't it? So
It is.
yeah, it's a huge problem. How do you solve domestic violence? That's a big state. That's and that's
Yeah,
the thing.
I don't even have an
how do you
answer
keep
for
these?
that.
I told these. Okay, I'll go off one more thing. We're gonna jump. Okay, we're gonna jump down here to suicide prevention for a minute, and then we're gonna go back to your things. How much time do we have? Magical voice in the corner. An hour? 20 minutes? 40 minutes?
Do you want a
Something?
2-hour show or you want an hour and a half show?
I want a 2-hour show. Is
All
that
right.
okay with you?
Yeah, you got 45 minutes.
Can I pay you extra money and have a 2-hour show?
You can have a 2-hour show.
Let's do it.
Because I really enjoy the content.
Suicide prevention. So, when people would say he's on this kick lately, or I'll say when I'm on this kick lately is, you know, I've known people that committed suicide, had family members that committed suicide. I should say relatives. That's different than a immediate family member. So, have you ever known anybody in real life that was a friend of yours committed suicide, Mike?
Yeah.
Did they come from the military?
A few of them. I've had more than one.
Sure. And, and to bring light on it, again, we shouldn't act like everybody knows. 22 a day. You military guys have that hashtag 22 a day. What's that about? Let's treat everybody like they don't know what we know.
Yeah, it's somebody came up with a statistic a while back, and they use it to promote. Somebody came up with a statistic that 22 veterans a day commit suicide. That's been proven not to be actually true, but it brings awareness, right?
Sure.
So it brings awareness.
Do we lose veterans every day to suicide?
We do, at some level.
Yep. Sure. And don't throw a punch me, and I mean this respectfully. So when I say, who cares if they're veterans or not, do we lose loved ones, Americans, all across this country who did or didn't serve every day to suicide?
Yes, we do.
So back to, as much as I appreciate veterans, and I understand, when I say understand, I understand what I don't understand. They went and did jobs that most people haven't. There's only 1% of you, right? Isn't it like 1% of the country serves?
0.01%.
Okay, so 0.01% of the country serves, and they have to go do things that most people haven't, and a lot of them come home with issues and don't deal with them well. So I respect all that, but at the same time, I can't ignore, let's just do something about all suicides, So, and factually, I don't know. I could go talk to 20 veterans who say they're in a bad place, and I don't know how many of them. It might be a lot better coming from you, right, than me. So it's not that I don't care about veterans. I'm going to focus on all the suicides. So that being said, when I was on the news a couple weeks ago with Foundation 2. Elizabeth from Foundation 2 is on there, and I wanted to somewhat keep when I say keep the show, the news contacted and said, hey, you made a video, and we watched it, and there's people talking about it. Can we come talk to you about it? And I'm like, okay, yeah, but really I'd rather you talk to Foundation 2. Hey, I appreciate that you, the news, and whoever brought this to your attention that says, look what this guy's doing. But it's not about me. It's about people that are in a bad place, and it's about getting them help, which would be places like Foundation 2 or the National Suicide Hotline. Locally, it's Foundation 2, their crisis line. So the whole point is I would have rather not even been on there at all. Maybe I wasn't. I haven't even watched that yet on the news. So get them the professional help. But we as people can reach out to our friends and do things, right? We have to do a better job of checking on our friends. And I'm going to say gun guys, and I know that there's gun girls, so just bear with me. Let's use that stereotypical bunch of buddies that might get together and shoot and have fun, and they shoot pumpkins in the back 40 or whatever. I want it to be a lot more acceptable for those gun guys to talk to each other about, hey, my girlfriend broke up with me or whatever. I'm having tough times with this, or I lost my job and I haven't got rehired and I feel like a failure and I've been drinking. That's all real shit that makes people kill themselves. So, I'm going to keep going forth using facts, and people might not like it, but I understand that, first of all, half of firearms deaths in this country, when people talk about guns kill people, half of them are suicides, actually more, every year. So if we could put a big dent in that, we'd be saving lives, right?
Yeah.
I'll be the first one to tell you, I've actually used the words 5-10 years ago when we would talk about all the gun deaths. I would literally say, there's nothing I can do about those. That was something I would say. Not that I don't care. I had already lost friends and loved ones. It's not that I don't care, but if you're set on committing suicide, I don't know how it is I'm going to save you. So I'm going to go focus over here on how to try to help people survive gun violence this way. So, but that's when I look back, it's really, and I want you to keep doing classes, right? I want to be involved. I want you to do lots of classes. I want you to train people. But what if we can put a dent in that population both ways? What if Mike teaches somebody how to use a firearm and they can save their life with it? Better yet, what if Mike and or other Mike Anderson teach somebody how to see an assault coming, stay out of it, not have to kill anybody? That helps somebody's quality of life too, as in it's nice not to have to shoot people. But what if we can help 1% of people not commit suicide? What if you can help 0.5% of people not commit suicide? When I say I'm okay with it, I'm not going to ignore the facts that suicides by firearm are much more successful, and that's the term we have to use, than suicide attempts by other ways, right? You drive your car off a 200-foot cliff, you're going to get the job done. And when you put a center fire rifle or pistol against the side of your head and pull the trigger, you're probably going to get the job done too. So, it's not an anti-gun thing to say, hey, what can we do? So I made a, I paid Facebook. The only thing I can pay Facebook to do. So you can't boost ads on guns and ammunition, right? So I boosted an ad. I paid for an ad to send it all over the place about my Winchester safes, because let alone they're a great deal, it's a smart thing. Is if every gun owner, if every responsible, as in legal gun owner in America, all locked up their guns and their prescription drugs, how many lives would that say? If you were the god of guns and drugs and you could look down and make sure everybody's loaded guns that aren't stored on their body, right? So if your guns are put away in a safe and your prescription drugs are put in a safe, how many lives would that change? Would it save lives? Would it
I mean, theoretically, it would, yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm going to try to go that route too. So I can do both things at once. I can have you talk to people about how to defend their lives. I'll go out and help you teach people how to defend their lives with firearms. And at the same time, let's be realistic. I have a 17-year-old son. So, and let alone my son was raised in my household by my rules. And, we might be different than other people. First of all, we've already had to talk about the fact that my son's not like Mr. Pro Gun, right?
Right.
My son is not Ernie Jr. He's very different than I am. But he respects firearms. He understands they're not toys. They're not something you get out and show your friends. He plays lots of violent video games and separates that from the reality of let's go to school and kill people. So do I blame video games? No. But, here's the thing is, why would I leave prescription drugs out available to him or his 50 friends that all stay overnight? Maybe 5 friends, 10 times a year.
Seems like 50.
Yeah, it does when they're teenage boys. They eat pizza like there's 50 of them. So the point being is, and that's not me lecturing people about I'm better than you, do that. No, I'm begging you, if your kids don't have access to your narcotics and your kid who hopefully you're in touch with your child enough that his girlfriend broke up with him and that's super depressing. And, not just, hey, my kid, I'll tell you right now, my kid, Ethan, some people know him. His grades, he's a super smart kid. And there's times his grades dropped, right? So that's like a huge flag. Or, I get up, mostly when he had performance PE, he's gone at 6 a.m. to go work out. And so if I get up and he's still in bed, I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, well, oops, I missed first hour, this and that. And it's kind of like, when they start not doing what they normally do, you have to worry as a parent. We need to do the same thing with our friends. If I don't, I would say I needed to call you up and rant yesterday. That's what people do.
Yep.
Was I considering taking my life yesterday? No. But I was just pissed off and frustrated, and you need somebody to talk to. And maybe 20 of those phone calls stops a person from ever getting to that point. You know what I mean? So, and some people could think this is a weird conversation for me to you and have now. But no, there's times I have to talk to my friends and say, this sucks. I'm tired of it. It's frustrating. That's pretty much what I said about the gun world yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. And it's not woe is me, it really isn't. It's I'm telling you why I'm frustrated. Why do I want to make a living selling one of the most documented, low margin items in this country that people will stab each other in the back to save $5 on? And I could be focusing on things that I think will help more people. But when people say, "Did you hear that gun dealer say he doesn't care about selling guns?" I'm just telling you it's a bad business to be in. If people don't realize that, then they don't know anything about the gun industry and the low margins. I could make a lot more money doing something else. And that a lot more money would actually allow me to accomplish more things that I'm trying to do. So it's a conundrum.
Another word.
That's
a good
a
one.
really good word.
That's what it is.
It's a conundrum.
Yeah. I would rather somebody pay me $45,000 a year to go work on life-saving policies than doing what I'm doing for a living.
You need to run for office, dude.
No.
Yeah, maybe you should
man.
run for office.
Oh,
then.
yeah. Take Ken Reisner's place, right?
Sure.
See? He's
Sure.
coming up.
You could be the next Ken Soros.
No. Can you imagine me being a politician? That doesn't work. You can't swear in your emails. You can't drop F-bombs. And you know what? You go around and, first of all, do people trust most politicians? Right off the bat,
No.
People don't trust you. So
No.
Nope. I'm better off being like the guy that stands outside the tax store with the Statue of Liberty uniform on, trying to get you to get your taxes done there. So
I don't know. We just voted in a guy who doesn't care so much about what he says. It's refreshing.
Yeah.
do you find it refreshing?
I wouldn't call it refreshing.
There's been times where I thought, you know what? I'm glad there's not a clear lie getting shoved in my face. But
Yeah.
no, I don't
I guess if
support
you look at
everything
it that
he
way,
says.
I find it frustrating that he can't not run his mouth.
I don't know. You know what? Here's the thing, and I'll say it. I don't run around being a super pro-Trump guy. Here's my thing is, if you think what he is or him himself, if you think that's what's wrong with our country, you're missing what's really going on. You know, when people are like, oh, the president this, the president that, what did he do that affects your daily life? And did you get up and go to work? And what did you deal with? And did somebody almost cut you off as they were texting and driving on the way there? And were you nervous to go inside the gas station because, you know, somebody got killed there 2 months ago? Whether it was Hillary or Trump in there, how did it change your personal daily life?
That's where I'm going to say you're part of the problem. Because just like the gun, the 5087, where I don't think it's that big a deal, and you're like, you're wrong because you need to be worried about it.
Sure.
I think you need to be worried about who the president is, because the president sets the tone for policy. And so the president, whoever that is, he's the captain of the ship, right?
Sure.
He drives the ship.
Sure.
And that ship's like the United States is like a big aircraft carrier.
Yes.
It takes a long time to turn that sucker around. And once they get it going,
And a lot of people
it takes a long time to turn it around.
a lot of people on the aircraft carrier do really bad things when they're at port and make poor decisions.
They do.
Yeah.
Yes, they
So,
do.
Yeah, factually.
No more liberty.
So, no, I'm glad you called me out on that. But here's what I would tell people. What has he done so far? Him. What has he done that's changed somebody's life personally?
Well, that's part of the problem.
Immediately. Like he's saying he'll sign this 21-year-old thing, though, right?
Yeah.
He believes that. So
Yeah.
I get it. I think that's stupid. I think we're going backwards when you want to say people aren't grown-ups till they're 21 now. That's part of the cultural problem we have. When you were 21 50 years ago, you were probably like a sergeant in the military, right?
Talking about me personally?
No, what I'm saying is,
You're
let's
saying
go back.
in context.
Let's go back in
50
history.
years ago, if somebody was 21.
How about in World War I? You know, if you were 21, you were the older dude.
Yeah, you were
You
the
were
old dude.
leading people
Not even 50 years ago. When I went to basic training
against actual Nazis that wanted
you were
to
like
kill us.
21 to 22, you were
Sure.
definitely the old guy.
Sure. FOG, right?
Yeah.
FOG.
Yeah.
It's like one of the few things I know. So,
One of my best friends, Ed, who's maybe watching the show or maybe not.
Ed
Sometimes Touche.
Touche,
Yeah.
yes.
So I met him in basic training. He was 23 and I
He
was
was the old
19.
dude.
He was the freaking old dude.
And you gave him shit about it, right?
Yeah.
But you also respected it, didn't you?
Sure, because he had all
He
this
knew
life
3 years.
experience.
Well, that, and even if he went in at the same time as you, he had 3 more years life experience.
Yep.
Yeah. So what's funny is you know, you listen to some people. Hey, do you know who the marketing – when I say marketing, do you know who the social media guru Gary Vee is?
Yes.
Okay, you know.
I've
Can
heard
they
of
hear you right now?
Yes.
And there's probably a lot of people out there that know who Gary Vee is. I'll listen to his a lot of stuff. I think he's very wise. A lot of people say, oh, he's just trying to sell you on anything. Dude, it's like all his videos are free.
Used car salesman.
What's he trying to sell you if his videos are free? But my point is, when he tells entrepreneurs one of the greatest things that they're missing out on, opportunities, you know what he tells them to go do? Spend time talking to old people. Go spend time to people, like literally, and he's even say, go to retirement homes, go here and there, go talk to people who've been there, done that, and what they went through there in their life, and how did they accomplish what they did. And now, go back and look at all the opportunities you have now, plus all the extra technology they didn't. So it's kind of funny that you have a guy who's super popular with young people who's saying, hey, by the way, you need to be learning from older people. But right now, I would say the emotional wage and rage of this country is, look at these great young people and all the changes they're going to make. Okay, you know what my problem with that is? These young people are at 10-year all-time highs of suicide rates. In the last 10 years, 15 to 19-year-old girls' suicide rate has gone up 50%. And in the last 10 years, 15 to 19-year-old male suicide rate is up 35+%. So I don't mean that disrespectfully. Lives matter to me. So you have a group of kids that are in the bracket they're killing themselves at an all-time high are supposedly now the wisdom of how we should run our country.
It's the cult of use, man. It's all the people that are, you know, in positions of power or in the media or wherever.
Sure.
They grew up or they were at least around when the 60s, you know, I was 10.
Say they really want those votes that are a year away.
They have this myth that
young people are wiser.
Young people are wiser because they bring in fresh ideas and they get fresh eyes on the subject. when you
You
just
and I
talked
have
about
both-
life experience,
Yes.
life experience matters way more than fresh eyes on the subject.
I know
There's
you
a reason that older and wiser is a thing.
Yeah, I know you and I have probably read a lot of the right. Yeah, and we haven't even talked about these articles, and I'm not talking about from the gun world. I'm talking about in general. We're saying, no, younger is not wiser. You know better how to use an iPhone and technology, and you can actually tell me what an algorithm is.
But you can't use an abacus.
Yeah,
Take
well,
that.
Yes. So,
Had to learn that stuff in second grade.
yeah.
Quit being so pedantic.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But so, I don't think it's funny that you take kids in my son's age bracket and say, you're factually killing yourself at a 10-year high rate, suicide-wise, just suicide. When I say just suicide, respectfully, let alone the texting and driving and the other things, right? And eating Tide Pods and anything else they might do. Just the suicide rate alone is at record numbers. And yet we're going to look to this group of people to say, wow, they're really going to lead the way. And everybody says, the youth are the future of America. That's a very cliche thing. I get it. Yes, younger people are going to grow older and be alive longer than me and be in charge of the country. I get that. Do I need a bunch of 16 and 17-year-olds telling me you're not a grown-up till you're 18? We're going backwards. You're not grown up till you're 21 now, in their opinion. We're going backwards. Instead of teaching responsibility to people at a young age.
What?
and
Individual
holding-
responsibility.
Oh, my God, right? Yeah. So... And so when people say, how do you fix that? I'm just saying I think that's part of the problem. I truly believe that's part of the country's problem. But when you say, how do you fix it? Well, then great. Have moms and dads in every household and I don't even care. Then people are like, oh, traditionalists. No. Have two people that hold you accountable in your household. Have one awesome parent that holds you accountable in your household. Have a regimented life of some sort. Eat dinner at home together with your family. Remember that crazy stuff, When people are like, oh, I'm not talking about Norman Rockwell, male, female, perfect marriage, Christian family, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But that we're so far gone from that, as in how many people even sit down and eat with their family anymore? It's rare for me. I know that.
Yeah, it's rare for me.
And when you sat down with your family and ate, that's when you caught your kids lying to you and shit like that, right?
All right.
Yeah. What'd you do after school today? Oh, I studied. Really? Well, I saw you at Drugtown. So, families spending time together and people being held accountable, it's just eroded. And then even my life's part of that. My kids, they were home, when they're in football and Iowa Big and they're in all these other things, they're like never home. They are busier than ever. I get it. Part of busier than ever is becoming separated from your parents more often, which in my child's case, I'm not patting myself on the back. I'll give my wife all the credit. We're good parents that we hold our kid accountable and we taught him what he knows. Life, of course, teaches him things too, but the less and less time you spend around people that'll hold you accountable, I would have to say you start to lose accountability, right? Starts at
I
a young
think that
age.
would be a natural
Yeah.
result.
Yep.
Lack of accountability results in less accountability.
Yeah, there's just no, and it goes all the way. It goes all the way to the top from the point of view that, oh, hey, well, the guy in Cedar Rapids who beat a man to death with a 2x4 that got 20 years in prison got out in less than 8. That's not being held accountable, isn't it? And nobody's asking for 2x4 control. When are we going to hold people that are willing to do very good, serious violence to get another human? When are we going to hold them accountable? When are you going to start executing people again? I'm all about it.
You know how I feel about that.
How do you feel about it?
Death penalty?
Yeah.
I'm not for it.
You're not?
No.
Yeah. I don't want to spend $13 million in 11 years waiting a bazillion years on death row. I'm all about them just.
I've told you before that I don't believe in the death penalty because there is a agreeably small
Sure.
chance, but documented that people have been wrongly convicted.
Yes.
So if we're going to go around killing people that are wrongfully convicted, I'm not for killing people.
Mm-hmm.
However, I am for hard labor. And what I mean by that is send them to Alaska and make them dig holes in the snow for the rest of their life. And I'm serious, like gulag type stuff.
How
That's
about-
deterrence.
Would you,
No TVs.
Oh, yeah.
No recreational areas.
Okay, but
Let's get medieval on
you
this
realize
stuff.
we live
But
in a
what
world.
about the people that are wrongly convicted?
Because
now they're in the gulag.
Yeah,
digging
true,
holes,
but
right?
they still have an appeal process, and they can still eventually win their freedom if they're wrongfully convicted. You can't win your freedom if you're wrongfully killed.
Yeah. Very true.
So that's my position.
That's a great point. What if they asked to be executed?
Like they said, hey, kill me because I kill all these people?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, then you're for it.
Am I for the death? No, not when they're deciding for themselves.
You're not for if they say, I'm glad I killed those cops. Did you watch the actual guy being walked by the other day that said, do you feel any remorse? And he said no.
I don't think I saw that.
You didn't see that?
Oh.
Cop killer? When they were walking him inside and they asked him and they talked about his dog Brick. You didn't watch that?
No,
So
I
that
didn't
guy's
see that.
proud. He's proud he killed a cop and he's going to be proud about it in court. And if he asks, and just like somebody did the other day, if they ask the judge, can I just ask for the death penalty? You don't believe in giving that to people?
I see what you're saying. No, I guess
There are
to
people
be consistent,
proud.
I would have to say no.
Did you see the guy out on the West Coast that was proud? He said he killed cops and he would kill more if he had the chance.
Yeah, no. To
I
be
mean-
consistent, I would have to say no.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Me personally, I'm all about like
I know. We've talked about.
I'm
it before.
about the electric chair live on pay-per-view. And when everybody wants to talk about morals and, oh, my God, that's so sick, how about you test that? How about you test and see how many people would pay for a live pay-per-view of an execution on
Dude,
TV?
there'd be millions of people.
Sure there would. More than the greatest UFC fight.
Can we have all that money go to schools?
And all the money goes to one of two things. Here we go. All the money can go to schools and the victims of crimes compensation fund because, you need a small percentage there. And by the way, during halftime, during the executions, you run the FBI's top most wanted like 50 instead of 10 people. Why not? Tell me I'm wrong.
Sounds very. What was the name of that show? Arnold Schwarzenegger, the movie.
I know where you're going.
Running Man.
Yes.
Running Man.
Yes.
Very Running Man-ish.
Yeah, but he was wrongfully prosecuted.
He
so
was.
There's a problem, isn't
But
there?
he won the appeal
Yeah.
process. He said he'd kick everybody's ass.
And I very much respect your opinion because, yes, there are people in prison that don't deserve to be there. And I don't mean like, well, Billy only got caught with 10 pounds of weed and this other guy had 40. No, there's people wrongfully prosecuted or confessed to some people that wanted the answers they wanted and they were going to get them any way they want. So I agree. I know where you're going. I'm all about, and that's the problem when I say I'm all about some people just being immediately put to death. So when you're on a videotape screwing a 5-year-old and there's 40 of those videotapes at your trial, I would like them to walk out back and shoot you in the back of the head right after your conviction. But that's not the world we live in, is it?
Not the world we live in.
Nope. Nope. If we had no Fourth Amendment, they would catch all those child porn guys. Some are girls.
That's stupid Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
Screwing everything up, giving us like stuff.
Do we have 10 more minutes?
Is that sarcasm?
That's
sarcasm.
That's sarcasm.
Sarcasm.
Yeah.
Sarcasm.
Do we have 10 more minutes?
Yeah, you bet.
I want Mike to go off about something. We're so far off here, so we don't even have enough time to talk about the red flag laws.
All right.
Red flag laws in Iowa, as in, let's just take away people's guns without due process, and then they can go through due process to get them back.
We can talk about that next time.
Okay, all right. But anyway,
Would
let's
that,
talk
would
about.
that be synonymous with when you get pulled over and you have too much? When the officer says, "Do you have more than X amount of money in your car?" and you say yes, and the officer can take that money, and then you have to prove that you came about that money legally.
Yeah,
Would
something
that
like
be
roughly. Yep.
this similar thing?
Yeah. I mean, what's that limit? I mean, I roll around with like 40 G's in my car all the time. So, yes, someone please steal it so I can write it off on insurance. I want that documented that when my truck was stolen, it had $40,000 in it. Let's get that on.
It's on video.
Yeah. Mike, tell me this. Army guy Mike, because it's not me. What do you call him? Soft rep?
Soft rep.
Go off on that. You were pretty mad.
Well, what is soft rep? to
Yeah.
So
begin with?
soft rep is, and
20
I don't want to give them too much publicity, but you got to say their name because soft rep is a journalistic quotes news organization that's run by former Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, Green Berets. All these guys were in special operations, and they have this news site, and they kind of put out.
And they were legitimately in those forces.
Yeah, they
Yep.
were absolute honorable discharge and all that, and they put out news in relation. That's their niche, right?
Yep.
They put out special operations news, and they try to scoop things and give what they call the real story and all that.
Okay.
So recently, I don't know if everybody listening or watching remembers. I think it was about 8 months ago. There was 4 guys killed in Niger, ambushed. Two of them were
here.
the news erroneously said they were all Green Berets. They weren't. There were 2 Green Berets and 2 support guys, which doesn't lessen their
You know how the country remembers it,
contribution.
Mike?
But
You know how the country remembers this? Is that would be one of the wives that the president called that he was told not to call.
Right.
And all that
Yeah.
hoopla that went on.
yeah, so
And-
that
and-
incident, right?
Yeah.
So it's 4 American soldiers killed by an ISIS affiliate, Daesh, or whatever you want, whatever term you want to use for them. Or anyway, the ISIS affiliate put out a propaganda video that showed camera footage of these guys getting shot and killed and the ambush, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they used it as a propaganda video to show that they were, killing the infidels and all that. These soft rep dudes posted that on their site, trying to say that it was, in the spirit of journalistic
Openness, clarity,
openness.
whatever.
That's a good word, I
Yeah.
guess. And for everybody needs to know this stuff. I disagree. I think they're dishonoring those people. I don't think we should be everybody knows that these guys got killed,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think we need to put it out there and make the families go through it
Mm-hmm.
again and have people watch these people get killed. And I just don't think it's appropriate. And I think they've betrayed the brotherhood. Moreover, they've betrayed the brotherhood, and that's what I'm really pissed about.
Yeah.
Being in special operations is not like the rest of the military, right? Like, you can join the military and do your 4 years and get out and you never talk to anybody again. Special operations is a brotherhood. You're triple, sometimes quadruple volunteers. You go through even in training, we do a lot of life-threatening stuff,
Mhm.
right? And so you build a bond with these folks. And I still talk, like, while we were talking here, one of the guys I was in Special Forces with was texting me back and forth
Mhm.
because he didn't want to put it on the screen about some questions he had, right?
Mhm.
So I still have contact with those guys, and I've been out of the military for 14 years.
Sure.
It's a very tight bond, and it's something that you don't just shit on by posting dead bodies.
Mm-hmm.
It's a betrayal, and it pisses me off.
Let me ask you, I didn't even think about this yesterday when we talked about it. Let me ask you a question. Then how do you feel about, my son gets killed by a drunk driver walking across the street and it's on YouTube? How's that any different?
Well, it's not, except for the fact that you don't have a social contract.
Sure, that's all I'm asking is that's what you're saying. Is, we see people get murdered all the time. You can go watch it on YouTube. You watch it on the news. You see people get killed right here in America. There's videos you and I have actually promoted to people saying, look at this situation, this could happen, and people died.
The difference is, and I'm just going to use my experience.
Yeah, that's all I'm asking.
As a Special Forces soldier, once you get awarded that designation, it is your job for the rest of your life to uphold the honor and integrity of the regiment.
Mm-hmm.
Posting videos of dead operators betrays that. And it's bullshit, and those guys are pieces of shit, and that's my opinion on it.
Well, that's why I asked. You're the guy to speak about it, not me.
Well, there was a time when the whole Black Hawk Down situation happened,
Yep.
and the enemy had posted the video
Yep.
of soldiers being dragged through the streets.
Yeah.
America as a whole was outraged.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
since that time, it has become more and more socially acceptable.
They showed pictures
to
of
put stuff out there of
the
dead
contractors that were burned to death hanging from the bridge in Fallujah.
Yep.
And I'm not saying this stuff's not out there. I'm saying the betrayal, and the part I'm really upset about is these are my guys.
bodies. Yeah.
My guys did this, not friggin' whatever his name on ABC News,
Yeah.
who's lived in New York his whole
Or
life.
a UN photographer or
and
whatever.
has no context. These guys were our guys, and they betrayed us.
Mhm.
And it's bad. It's bad. The little chat groups and whatever that I belong to, it's really bad. There's a lot of pissed off people out there.
Yeah.
And
Well,
these guys are no longer going to be welcome in most common circles. I'll put you that way.
If that's your guys' unwritten policy, then I get it. Like I said, I don't get it. I wasn't there. I wasn't one of those guys. But I get it if it's, if you say that's something that it's just part of it, just keep your mouth shut the rest of your life and don't put stuff out there. So
Well, it's not so much you don't have to keep your mouth shut. It's just
about that.
do not make the regiment look bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's your basic, like, for the rest of your life.
And for those of you that don't follow us on a regular basis, what regiment were you?
The Special Forces Regiment. Don't make it look bad.
Yes. No, but I mean, you were in the 75th?
No, I never was in the
No,
75th.
you were in the...
I was in 10th Special Forces
Yeah,
Group.
10th Special Forces. That's
Yeah.
right. Yes.
Yeah.
Shane?
So,
But it
You're-
shouldn't that apply really to our country? Like I
agree.
I brought up the situation where at one point we were outraged as a country.
Yeah.
And now we have young people. I don't know the ages of the people that you're talking about that did that. But now we have YouTube stars, social media stars that are profiting from doing video. I think Logan Paul is his name.
Yeah.
Recently, where he went to the suicide forest and he had on his video a dead body hanging.
Yeah.
And there has been a backlash against him, but that should have never been even thought of as possibly socially acceptable.
Agreed. And it's a societal problem. However, I'm just
How about the 4 kids that
talking about what I can talk about.
How about the 4 kids that filmed and laughed while a guy drowned to death right in front of them, put it live on Facebook and YouTube? Did you watch that?
No, I didn't.
You haven't seen that?
No, I haven't.
I mean, what are we getting ready to do as a culture for that? That they laugh and watch a guy drown? I think it's a special needs adult, and he's yelling and screaming for help, and they're literally saying, "You're gonna drown, dumbass. Go watch that." That happened in the last 4 months.
I'm not gonna watch it.
Yeah, and it's like, what's the matter with our culture that they'll stand there and laugh while somebody else drowns, and you didn't jump in the water and try to swim 50 yards to go help them?
Well, back to your point of earlier, what are we going to do
Yeah.
about suicide rate?
Sure.
And I think we had talked after the recording one of our last episodes, whereas we would have all liked to have seen the kids who walked out and did protests against anti-gun violence
Sure.
actually protested about how are we treating each other at school.
Yeah.
Can they hear you talking
Yes,
right now?
they can.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, fine. Do I have 2 more minutes?
Absolutely.
Closest thing I'm going to do to a rant. Are you
got
ready?
15 minutes if you
That's
like.
it. That's what I told my son is, you take the same group of kids that are trying to tell me, and I don't mean this in a smart-ass way, you're trying to tell me what kind of laws we should have and what will keep us safer when you're not looking at the most likely things that will kill you, which is yourselves and the people you create around yourselves. So when you go down and read the list, and if you want to go look at the CDC and then go look at all the top websites and experts, and I want you to do it, like educate me. Go look at all the reasons that they say create a suicidal kid. Why are these teens taking their life? And you can get into the bullying, social media bullying. Oh my God, this girl gives a picture of herself naked to her boyfriend. He puts it online. All that stuff going on, right? And then go and read the list of these killers and what were they like in school. They were bullied. They were this. They were that. They were isolated. Those lists are like twins. And I'm not trying to say one always equals the other. I'm just saying the fact that a lot of mass killers were suicidal, and they were created the same way. So you're exactly right. These kids, they have every right to go speak if they want, if they're wholeheartedly about it. What I don't want to see is 300 kids in a parking lot, and when you see all the footage instead of just one of the pieces that the news wants to use, they're shoving each other and horsing around. You know how kids do, even like during a fire drill in school, right?
Right.
You all had to leave, but when you got outside, you punched your buddy in the arm or you tripped him or whatever. You're not taking it serious if that's your attitude. So if these kids want to talk about taking it serious, let's also, at the same time they're doing whatever. I'm not trying to tell them what not to do. They can go try to talk to their senators and be on TV and all that. At the same time, they need to turn around and look at themselves, and they know their classmates better than you and I do. They have the best chance of ever helping find one of those kids and getting them help and stopping it. So, and at the same time, they might just find, I mean that respectfully, a person that was just going to kill themselves and save that life. So if they want to save lives, they need to be looking at themselves and among themselves and keeping an eye on each other, saying, hey, what's going on? Find me these kids in school today that don't know who the best person in class is at a particular class. You know what I'm saying? Like Billy's awesome at this, or Susie's the top person in sociology class and this and that. And you even have when I say competition, you have people that keep track of how each other are doing in school and you're trying to beat them at this or that. Well, I don't care if that person is your academic arch nemesis. When you see that person not trying anymore, or their grades go dumping down, or they just don't care anymore, maybe ask them. I don't care if they're the person in class that you're trying to do better than. Why don't you ask them why they quit trying so hard? That might save a life. Pretty easy way to save a life.
Pretty easy.
That's a pretty.
He said.
That's as close as I got for a rant, other than like next Monday after I talk to the concerned citizen dudes again. We missed 2 things. We need to talk more about President for Life. Do you agree with that?
Are we going to get into that?
No,
No. No, let's just
I don't
say
want
that.
a president for life.
Yeah.
I don't care what president was.
And what are you talking? When you say that, where's
Oh,
that coming from?
we were going off about because China just voted to say it's okay to have one leader for their entire lifetime, and then what was it? Trump was heard that was okay, or did he say?
He said something like, "Oh, that sounds like a good idea."
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't want a lifetime of any of those people. Yeah, I think it should be like a driver's license. They have to renew it every 4 years, no matter who it is. So, yeah, I don't know.
All right.
I'm not anti-Trump. I'm just not super pro-Trump. We'll wait and see. History will always tell us.
History will tell.
Yeah, in 2 or 3 years. Anything else? Voice in the corner.
I just want to say
thank everybody,
for
yes, do that for me.
participating. Jesse, thank you very much for all your comments. Daniel, Ivan, Mike, Andrew, Don, Jesse again, James.
Is there actually 62 people watching us?
We were
At one
were
point
up
we were
at
almost
like
at
70s.
80.
We
Yeah,
were almost at 80.
we're
So
almost
it
at
was
80
one
at
of
one
our
point.
best shows. But yeah, thanks everybody for your comments and watching and participating in the show. We appreciate it. It does curb our conversation. It adds a lot to it.
We would like that more, wouldn't we?
Yeah, we would.
I mean,
and I'll
we
try
should-
to go back and answer questions that we didn't specifically address.
We need to do that better.
I'll go back and look and try to answer them.
Which we answer them on TPS Media's site, right?
Yes,
Really?
yes.
You go back and answer them
I
there.
usually do.
Okay.
And I'd also like to just mention that we have a couple classes that.
Oh, you mean business stuff?
Yes, business. We have a couple classes that haven't been put out yet, just because we're unorganized.
Who wants to go to active shooter
Yeah,
school?
so we have there's a immediate casualty care class on the 18th if we get enough people. So if you want to
18th
go.
of March?
18th of March.
Hey, can we get like 8 people to go
Yeah.
by the 18th of March?
18th, yep.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah,
Right.
so if anybody wants to, been asking me about a immediate casualty care class, 18th of March is the day we're going to have one.
Wow, we didn't do good on that, did we?
Yeah. So, and then active shooter response class on the 31st if you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's on a Saturday.
And then looking forward, shooting season is here.
Yes.
So in April,
Our
we've
first
got
class, by the way, is on tax day, 4/15.
4:15.
But in the true CVO fashion, we don't even know what we're teaching yet, do we?
Yeah, but we're going to have a class on
Are you there that
4:15.
day?
Yes, sir.
Then you're totally, we'll figure that out and get it up soon.
We're going to pew. We're going to pew.
Right now, there's an increase in firearm sales, and I work at a firearm store, so that makes me like 3 times busier than normal, which that isn't awesome. Doesn't mean I don't appreciate their business. It's just it's a lot to do right now,
Right.
and try to like get things on the
So
interwebs.
We'll get that stuff out there, but the big thing coming up, I had about 4 people ask me about immediate casualty care class.
On the 18th.
They didn't ask me specifically about the 18th. I'm telling you that there's one on Sunday, if we get enough people.
So this Sunday we could do one at my store if we could get enough people.
Yes,
Right now, what's enough people? Tell the public.
8 people.
If I can get 8 people to sign up for medical class this Sunday, we'll have it.
Yeah.
Mike will be there.
Yeah.
And
I'll
where
make
can
coffee.
people go? Where can people go to sign up for your class?
They could go to sign up for that class by just, you know what, it doesn't exist on the website, so that I fail. So call me at 319-447-6140, and I'll just write it down and get you signed up. Or send a message to Mike McAmeal, 18 Zulu.
Yep, Mike at 18zulu.com.
Anything else, magical voice in the corner?
No,
We just need to make you part of this show. You are
Okay.
the backbone of this show.
I like just sneaking in every now
I
and
know,
then.
he's just like-
I like to ask some questions. I'll be the dummy in the corner who
Yeah.
doesn't understand what's going on, and
you're
I accept that role.
You're the
right.
smart guy that's actually like, psst, you forgot to actually tell them you do anything.
All right.
All right. Other than that, we're good?
Yep.
We're good.
So again, I know Shane always has to do it for me because I got squirrel brain, but thank you for everybody for watching. It's flattering that even 70 people would want to listen to us. So this will run later on YouTube. It always does. I know there's people that actually have jobs and can't watch podcasts while they're working. So as always, thanks for watching. We'll be more organized next time. Hopefully you send us more questions.
So after 28
8
episodes, next time we're going to be more organized.
Hey, trust me, I'm a politician.
Yeah, all right.
Yes. As always, watch out for the red Chevy truck.
Peace out.